"Get out of my house, you worthless fool." Dad's scream shattered the air, jagged and final, like glass cracking under pressure. More than the words, I remember the spit that landed on my cheek. And then, the deafening silence that followed. That was the real wound. Mom didn't even glance at me. My duffel bag hung from my shoulder like it was filled with lead. I could still smell the gun oil from the base on my hands, and all I'd done was tell them I had enlisted. They called me a disgrace, a failure, a burden finally discarded. I didn't argue. I simply nodded, stepped into the night, and closed the door behind me as if sealing away a corpse. Back then, they never asked what my plans were. They didn't know about the prototype tucked in my locker, the algorithm scribbled on a crumpled MRA box, or the investors I'd emailed during midnight shifts. All they saw was a soldier. They never glimpsed the engineer underneath. But that's not where the story begins. I stood barefoot on the marble floors of my Florida mansion, when the past decided to claw its way back. Outside, the horizon stretched along the coastline, a view most people spend their lives chasing. A horizon only attainable with a $38 million valuation. My phone buzzed. A voicemail from Dad. His voice cracked again, this time from age, not anger. "Son, can we talk?" Something's happened. That something turned out to be bankruptcy. They had burned through savings, retirement, and dignity. The world they'd built, the status, the reputation, the immaculate front lawn, was collapsing. And suddenly, they remembered I existed. There was a time Dad bragged about me, the clever child, the future engineer. He'd hand me tools while fixing the truck, pretending I was helping, telling neighbors I was destined for brilliance. But the day I enlisted, the pride vanished. Military service, in his eyes, was for those with no options. He thought I was throwing my life away. What he didn't know was that I joined to escape them, to escape him, to create something of my own, not another extension of his ego. Betrayal wasn't a single moment. It was a lifetime of judgment, dismissal, and cold disregard. When Dad finally called, it wasn't reconciliation he wanted. It was a lifeline. One frantic slip. "We just need a place to stay until things calm down." Just. The same word they'd used the night they kicked me out. Just leave. Just go. Just disappear. And now, they had no shame in asking. In their eyes, I owed them. My achievements, things they never thought I'd reach, were suddenly theirs to claim. That was when the old anger transformed into something sharper, cleaner. A blade, not a flame. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I played the polite son to perfection. "Of course," I said. "Fly down. I'll pick you up." 2 days later, they arrived, dragging suitcases, as if already moving in. Mom hugged me as if the past decade of pretending I didn't exist never happened. They snapped selfies at the airport, reconnecting with family, so grateful. I didn't correct them. I observed, noted every entitled assumption, every self-important breath. They spoke of waiting for a check I'd supposedly write, treating me like an ATM with their last names stamped on it. And then the plan became clear. Simple, precise. I wouldn't destroy them. I'd let them destroy themselves. I led them through the mansion, letting them soak in the view, letting them believe they had conquered. They wandered the halls like inspectors, evaluating a property they believed was owed to them. Then I showed them the guest house. Smaller, older, farther from the ocean, but still better than anything they had ever owned. "This is where you'll stay," I told them. They never noticed the cameras, the recording devices, the seemingly innocuous papers on the kitchen table. They didn't read the contract they signed, believing it was a liability waiver. They signed without hesitation. But it wasn't a waiver. It was a rental agreement. 30 days at market price. Non-payment? Immediate eviction under Florida law. They moved in, ate my food, used my pool, posted pictures pretending the mansion was theirs. Not a penny exchanged. I waited. 30 days. At dawn, I returned. The air was thick with ocean mist. I stood in their doorway, the mirror of the stance Dad once held over me. "Your month is up," I said. Dad froze. "Month?" Son, we're staying until. No, I interrupted. You signed a rental contract. You didn't pay. You're being evicted. Mom's face drained of color. Dad clenched his jaw, searching for anger, but finding nothing. You can't do this to us, he whispered. I stepped closer, calm, soft, merciless. You already did. I handed them the official notice, stamped, validated, irrefutable. Then I returned a phrase Dad once hurled at me, polished, and served like a long-awaited debt. Get out, you lowlife. Their breath hitched. Silence fell, this time my victory. By that afternoon, they were gone. Bags packed, pride obliterated. No dramatic farewell, no apology, just two people finally realizing the bridge they burned had been holding them up all along. I watched their car vanish down the driveway and felt lighter. Not triumphant, not vindictive, just free. They taught me to survive without them. I simply returned the lesson.